At her daughter's graduation, Camille Reyes expected to celebrate a lifetime of sacrifices fulfilled, not to witness her husband's betrayal unveiled in front of hundreds. With her dignity shattered and her life dismantled by a scheming mistress and a corrupt partner, Camille doesn't retreat. She rebuilds, not with vengeance, but with strategy. In a world where betrayal is public and redemption is private, Camille orchestrates a quiet storm that no one sees coming, and no one will forget. Camille Reyes stood at the entrance of the university auditorium, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her daughter, Elena, stride across the stage in her graduation gown. The applause was thunderous, and flashes from smartphones lit up the air. Elena's eyes sparkled with ambition and joy, and Camille's own eyes welled with tears. It was a moment every mother dreamed of, her daughter achieving greatness. Camille had spent years making sure Elena never lacked anything, emotionally, academically, or materially. She had juggled her career as a legal consultant, supported her husband Gregory's rise as a renowned architect, and devoted herself entirely to her family. On this day, she had chosen an elegant pastel blue dress, her hair in a soft chignon, radiating grace and serenity. She had even gone so far as to order a bouquet of Elena's favorite sunflowers for the celebration. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. As the graduation ceremony concluded, Elena descended from the stage and Camille stepped forward to embrace her daughter. But before she could reach her, another woman rushed past her, younger, dressed in a bold crimson dress, heels clicking with arrogance. She threw her arms around Elena. Cameras clicked. "Elena, darling, I'm so proud of you," the woman gushed, loudly. Camille froze. Who was this woman? Elena's smile dimmed for a fraction of a second, then returned. "Thank you, Cassandra," she said awkwardly. Camille's heart sank. "Cassandra?" Gregory appeared behind Camille, with an odd stiffness in his demeanor. "Camille," he muttered, avoiding her eyes. "We need to talk." Camille looked at him, then at Cassandra, who now stood beside Elena as though she belonged there. The truth came crashing down in fragments. Cassandra wasn't a family friend. She was Gregory's mistress, and she was pregnant. The humiliation clung to Camille like a second skin. Before the whispers of relatives and colleagues could catch up to her, she turned and walked away, her heels echoing in the corridor like a drumbeat of betrayal. Camille sat in her study, surrounded by unopened mail, neglected coffee cups, and legal documents she had no energy to read. Her once vibrant townhouse, decorated in soft neutrals and warm lighting, now felt like a prison of echoes. She had tried to maintain her dignity in front of Elena, but her daughter's silence since the incident spoke volumes. Camille's world had unraveled in public, and she wasn't even afforded the decency of a private apology. Gregory had moved in with Cassandra. He had taken more than just his clothes. He had taken their joint savings, restructured the architectural firm under his name alone, and left Camille with accounts frozen under security disputes. Cassandra was more than a fling. She had been Gregory's co-conspirator, a PR consultant with a knack for manipulation. Together, they had erased Camille's presence from the firm she had helped build and the family she had nurtured. Camille's lawyer friend, Lisa Nguyen, sat across from her, reviewing the files. He moved all major assets under an LLC registered in Cassandra's name 2 months ago, Lisa said, pushing her glasses up. Real estate, liquid cash, stock holdings, all gone. And unless we find concrete evidence of fraud, there's not much we can do without dragging this through years of court battles. Camille's fists clenched. He used me for 2 decades, built his career on my support, and now he tosses me out like nothing? Lisa nodded grimly. It's ugly, but it's not uncommon. Camille looked out the window. The sun was setting, bathing the skyline in hues of orange and crimson, the same color as Cassandra's dress. That night, Camille didn't sleep. She stayed up revisiting old files, photos, and emails, piecing together the timeline of her betrayal. And she found them. Dozens of emails from Cassandra to Gregory, talking about strategic detachment, narrative control, and public perception. Cassandra had been planning this for over a year. She had leveraged her PR firm to reshape Gregory's image while systematically sidelining Camille from their professional circle. Camille leaned back in her chair. She wasn't going to play the Victim, she was going to retaliate. Elegantly. 6 weeks later, a private law firm, Chicago Camille, entered the sleek office of Callaway & Byron, one of the most discreet and powerful legal consultancy firms in the Midwest. Dressed in a tailored black suit with a crimson silk blouse, a deliberate choice, she projected power, not grief. She had hired a team, a forensic accountant, a digital trail expert, and Lisa is her legal strategist. Her plan wasn't just to get her assets back. It was to dismantle the narrative Gregory and Cassandra had built. Expose them publicly? Lisa asked. No, Camille replied. I want to do something more elegant, more damaging. I want to be unpredictable. They began with the PR angle. Camille scheduled an exclusive interview with an upscale lifestyle magazine known for its influential readership. She told her story, selectively, not about betrayal, about reinvention. She spoke of starting her consultancy, supporting women who had lost everything, becoming a mentor for young female entrepreneurs. The article went viral. Camille Reyes. From shadows to strategy. Cassandra's firm, meanwhile, started losing clients. Quietly, subtly. No smear campaign, just shifts in allegiance. Clients preferred Camille's grace over Cassandra's scandalous rise. Then came the financial thread. Camille's forensic accountant traced hidden accounts under a shell company registered offshore. They found clear patterns of fund siphoning, transfers made before Gregory legally separated from Camille. It was enough for leverage. Gregory's new apartment, downtown Chicago. Gregory sat at his desk reviewing a project proposal when a courier delivered a thick envelope. Inside, a formal legal notice, a dossier of financial inconsistencies, and a personal note from Camille. You taught me the cost of trust. Now let me teach you the cost of betrayal. The envelope also included a proposition: full return of misappropriated funds and co-ownership reinstated, or face a class action lawsuit from stakeholders misled by their restructuring. Cassandra walked in, visibly distressed. We just lost another client. 3. What is happening? Gregory's face turned pale. He knew Camille wasn't bluffing. Back at Camille's townhouse, Camille stood on the balcony sipping wine. Her phone buzzed, a message from Elena. Mom, can we meet? I've been thinking about everything. Camille smiled faintly. There was still more to fight for, not just revenge, but restoration. She turned her gaze toward the skyline, a city where her dignity had been shattered and now slowly reassembled. And this was only the beginning. The summer heat was unforgiving, but Camille Reyes felt colder than ever. Beneath, the crisp professionalism of her black pantsuit, a storm brewed. Weeks had passed since she delivered the envelope to Gregory. Weeks in which her life, like a wounded bird, struggled to regain its flight. But Camille had never been the type to accept defeat. And she wasn't about to start now. Camille's townhouse, once a quiet retreat, had turned into a war room. Lisa, Nguyen, her friend and legal strategist, now operated from the guest bedroom, while Camille's dining table was covered in financial records, legal documents, and PR strategy outlines. The smell of high-end coffee and determination lingered in the air. We've got a pattern, said Lisa, tapping her laptop. Cassandra used her PR firm to pitch Gregory's new image to investors right before the firm's restructuring. But here's the kicker. They misrepresented financial data to secure a partnership with an international architecture conglomerate. Camille leaned in. So not just betrayal, securities fraud? Lisa nodded. Potentially. If we can get a whistleblower or an insider to talk, it's game over. Camille turned toward her phone. Elena's text from the night before still sat open. I want to understand your side, Mom. I think I've been unfair. A fragile bridge had appeared, and Camille wasn't going to let it collapse. Gregory paced in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, while Cassandra argued on the phone with yet another disgruntled client. This is a coordinated smear campaign, she hissed into the receiver. We've done nothing illegal. But she was lying, and Gregory knew it. He slammed a file on his desk. Inside were forensic reports Camille had sent weeks ago, showing clear patterns of misappropriation and fabricated client growth metrics. Gregory was no longer a respected name in the industry. He was radioactive. We need to respond, he muttered. No, Cassandra snapped. If we acknowledge her claims, we give them power. We wait it out. But the waiting game was already lost. Their firm had been blacklisted from 2 major urban design projects, and Gregory's speaking engagements were quietly canceled. Camille was silent, but her storm had already made landfall. Camille arrived early, choosing a table under a large oak tree, hoping the shade would soften the tension. Elena arrived minutes later, nervous, clutching a journal and avoiding her mother's gaze. They ordered tea. I was angry, Elena finally said. You didn't say anything. It felt like you disappeared, Camille sighed. I didn't want to burden you. I thought it was best you hear it from him. Elena blinked away tears. He said you gave up, that you were always too busy, too cold. Camille stared at her hands. I was busy. With him. With you. Building a life that only I valued. Elena pulled out a folded document, an email, from Cassandra's firm. It included a media strategy outlining how to spin the narrative of Camille's emotional instability as the reason for Gregory's exit. I found this on Dad's laptop. I was wrong, Mom. I didn't see it before. Camille reached across the table and held her daughter's hand. Then let's fix this together. Camille and her team launched a series of quiet but lethal moves. Using Elena's access to Gregory's files, they submitted anonymous complaints to financial regulatory boards. Meanwhile, Camille personally reached out to several clients of Gregory's firm, not with accusations, but with concern. You may want to review the authenticity of your recent project reports. Within days, a former junior partner from Gregory's firm agreed to testify. He revealed that Cassandra had backdated contracts, inflated valuation reports, and edited architectural portfolios to lure in investors. The news broke on a Monday morning. Top Chicago architecture firm under investigation for financial fraud. Camille did not celebrate. She walked into her first major meeting with a new partner firm for her consultancy, wearing her signature crimson blouse and soft chignon. Let them burn on their own, she told Lisa afterward. By week 5, Gregory was arrested on multiple counts of fraud, pending trial. Cassandra fled to New York, but not before attempting to contact Camille. She sent an email. You'll regret this. You've made an enemy out of someone who knows how to spin anything, Camille replied with a single sentence. Then spin your way out of court. Months passed. Camille's consultancy flourished. Elena began working part-time with her, helping women rebuild after divorce and betrayal. Camille started a podcast titled Unbroken Stories from the Ashes that quickly rose in popularity. In the final episode of the season, Camille spoke not as a legal expert, but as a survivor. Sometimes the people closest to us teach us the harshest lessons, but the cracks they leave behind, that's where the light gets in. As she closed her laptop, Camille stood by her window, bathed in early morning light. The skyline no longer reminded her of what she lost, but of what she reclaimed, and she was far from finished. The quiet hum of the city beneath Camille Reyes's penthouse balcony was interrupted only by the distant siren of an ambulance and the occasional honk of a taxi. A soft breeze curled through her freshly ironed blouse as she scrolled through her phone, reviewing the final edits to her new business launch. It had been 3 months since she sent the letter to Gregory and Cassandra. 3 months since the dominoes began to fall. She had not only rebuilt her life, she had rebranded it. Camille Reyes Consulting had become a beacon for women navigating professional betrayal, family collapse, or personal reinvention. Her client list included CEOs, politicians, and media personalities. Every article, every podcast, every speaking engagement amplified her voice. But the war was far from over, and the final blow was near. The walls of Cassandra's office once glowed with modern minimalism and ambition. Now they radiated tension. Clients had backed out one after another, each citing reputation concerns or brand misalignment. Her staff shrank. Her inbox was filled with cancellation notices, and then came the IRS audit. Gregory stormed in, tie loose, eyes bloodshot. "This is your fault," he spat. "You said we had this under control." Cassandra, now 8 months pregnant, was less composed than usual. "She's not fighting dirty, Gregory. She's fighting smart." They had underestimated Camille, dismissed her as just the supportive wife, the legal consultant with no claws. But Camille had studied them, understood their weaknesses. Cassandra thrived on image, Gregory on admiration. Camille used both against them. She leaked those financials. It had to be her, Gregory muttered, pacing. And now our licenses are being reviewed. She didn't leak anything. She suggested where people should look, Cassandra said, slumping into her chair. That's the brilliance. There's no direct attack, just precision strikes. Elena sat across from Camille, nervously stirring her tea. I don't know what to say, Mom. I'm sorry for how I acted. I didn't know everything. Camille smiled softly. You don't have to apologize for being confused. Your father and Cassandra painted a very different picture. I just needed time to show you the truth. Elena nodded. I want to move in with you until I figure out what to do next. Camille reached out, took her hand. Of course, you always have a place with me. Camille stood at the head of the table. Surrounding her were her legal team, accountants, and her newly appointed director of ethical investment, a young woman named Priya, whom Camille had mentored personally. Today we file the shareholder lawsuit, Camille said calmly. We expose the misappropriation of funds, the fraudulent misrepresentation of the firm's asset transfers, and the falsified branding documents. Lisa, her attorney, grinned. This will freeze their remaining assets. They can't sell, they can't restructure, and they sure as hell can't run. Camille nodded. Good. Then we let the public digest the press release. Breaking, prominent PR executive under investigation for fraud, architectural star, Gregory Reyes. Facing ethics probe after asset diversion scheme revealed. Exclusive, Camille Reyes, betrayed wife and legal powerhouse, leads justice campaign for corporate victims. The headlines spread across social media, morning shows, business columns, and YouTube commentary. Camille did no interviews. She let her previous one resurface and speak louder. Clients dropped Cassandra like a hot coal. Gregory's firm was suspended pending investigation, and Camille, she sat with a glass of wine, watching it unfold. Gregory sat beside Cassandra, both in formal black, both gaunt from stress. Camille entered, poised, confident, flanked by her legal team. The judge reviewed the documents and made the preliminary ruling. Asset division revisited, misappropriated funds to be returned, and a 6-month freeze on business activity by the defendants. Camille looked at Gregory only once, and in that look, she didn't need to say a word. She had already won. Elena joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. You don't miss him at all? Elena asked. Camille looked out at the skyline. I miss the illusion. But the truth, it set me free. Elena leaned against her. What now? Camille smiled. Now I build. Bigger, smarter. For women who were never supposed to rise after the fall. The sun dipped below the horizon. A new chapter began.